Hey guys, welcome to the Property Panel Podcast. Sorry for that little delay. We were having a few technical issues, but we are back and better than ever. Obviously, you got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here with co-host Josh Story, and then we got obviously Ethan McCormick behind the scenes. And if you couldn't tell, we have redone the podcast painting and room and desk set up a little bit. We hope you guys like it. We'll continue to try to improve in the future. Before we get too deep into today, let's go ahead and talk about our sponsors.
Yeah, I want to shout out our I want to shout out our title sponsors for today's episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then I want to give a big shout out to Chad Gooden at Supreme Lending. If you have any lending questions or if you're trying to get approved, FHA, VA, conventional, and more, he's located off of North Mulberry Street in E-Town. And then I want to thank this week's sponsor, T&J Construction. They've been in business since 2009. If you need roofing, guttering, or construction, you can give them a call at 270-668-2806.
Yeah, and we want to obviously give a big shout out to T&J, but all of our weekly sponsors and our title sponsors have done a big part in this podcast, especially just getting us as much as far as this desk, these mics, these headphones, the camera, the paint. And what else are we adding? I think we're going to do some new flooring, and obviously I think we're going to have kind of like a little changing scene kind of deal. So when we have guests on, you might not see this desk with people on the side of it. I think we're going to have kind of like a laid back stage. So we're going to have people coming. We're going to have chairs, couches, whatever it may be, some tables. It's going to be kind of like a little coffee party in a sense. So
yeah, we might do some like shelves on the side here, put some props or something up. But yeah, we have more to work on, and we plan on bringing that in the future.
And if sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. We plan on having some more guests as well.
Good ones too.
Good guests coming up in the future. But yeah, stay tuned for that.
And then obviously, if you or anyone you know would like to be a weekly, monthly, or yearly sponsor, you can give us a shout. At one of the numbers that used to be behind us, they're no longer behind us. We're still working out that. But obviously, you can give the office a call to also get a hold of us at 270-422-1331. And that is 100 weekly, 300 monthly, and 3,000 yearly. And you're advertised on our intro, outros, as well as intermissions. And then also all social media platforms as well. And we're on about 5 or 6 different platforms, reaching about 3,000 to 5,000 views per week. So
yeah, we're currently on
increasing.
TikTok, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook. So keep an eye on those. You can just search Property Panel Podcast and we should come up. And we plan on expanding that in the future, maybe even streaming on TikTok as well. So
yeah, and go ahead, and we are trying to stream on TikTok, and actually that brings us into our giveaway. So on TikTok, we're really actually getting our most viewership at the moment. Each video we post, we're about averaging about 1,000 viewers. Some of our videos have about 2,000 views on them. But we're actually trying to get to 100 followers on TikTok. So if you got a TikTok, or your daughter, whoever's got a TikTok, son, go on there and give us a follow at Property Panel Podcast on TikTok. And once we reach 100 viewers, we're actually going to do a merch giveaway. So we're going to have shirts made, which we'll have hopefully in the next couple weeks, and we'll be wearing them on the show. But once we reach 100 followers, going to do a merch giveaway of a Property Panel Podcast shirt. So
check us out on TikTok.
That'd be appreciative. And then obviously, before we dive into today's topic, we've had a few kind of exciting weeks here, and we've pre-recorded the last few episodes. So did y'all do anything for the eclipse? You didn't do nothing for the eclipse? You was probably sleeping.
No, I did take a nap.
You took a nap. We was working. Me and Kurt was here at the office, and you couldn't see much. And obviously, as soon as like the peak time to view, a big old cloud just came right over our head, and we was like, man, and we didn't even have the glasses, so he's like looking at our phone. We was like this over here, trying to look at it. But my mom and them, they went to Totality, and that was a pretty surreal experience just for pictures, like she sent me some pictures, and I was like, that's pretty awesome.
I tried to get some pictures. I had some of the glasses. I tried to get some pictures, like my phone up to it. It kind of worked, but it was cloudy most of the day. So.
What about the Masters? Y'all watch that? I know that we're not the biggest golfers, but we like to golf.
Jordan Spieth.
For what?
Who won? Who won?
Scotty Scheffler, bro.
Oh, gotcha.
Look at he's over. He said Jordan Spieth.
You looking at me like that?
Did Jordan even make the cut?
I have no idea. I've just seen clips here and there. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I watched a couple rounds, but I was actually excited to see Tiger play, and that's who I kind of seen a few clips from. And that's pretty impressive. I know a lot of people was hating on Tiger for, getting last place, but also he got last of the cut, so he didn't get last place, but he actually made the cut, and he did finish last of the cut line, but he still made money. Huh?
He missed the cut. Jordan
did not.
Jordan
Jordan
Spieth
did, yeah. And you said he won, boy.
I got the last names confused. Scheffler, Spieth.
How much they win? 20 million? Ooh, no, that was the purse. That was the purse as a whole.
Yep.
Damn.
The amount of times Tiger's won, I'm sure you could take a break on this.
Yeah, he don't give a damn.
He's past his prime.
Yeah, Tiger, he's the man. But I guess we should get into today's topic. I know it's kind of like the day old question: will the market ever crash again? You know, we had that market crash in 2008, and it really set things behind. But I feel like the people that was really in the investing mindset, it was kind of like an open door for them. And I know a lot of investors were hurt by the times as well.
Thank you, Garrett.
Oh, thanks, you, G.
Garrett.
G who?
Greenwell,
Garrett Greenwell. We appreciate you,
Shout
boy.
out.
Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being one of our title sponsors originally. I know we only shout out Chad now, but G is back at the car dealership, and he was short-lived in the mortgage industry, but he closed out a handful of deals in a matter of a month, which is pretty impressive. But when you get a deal like he got, I'm sure it's hard to turn down. So we appreciate you for also helping bring this podcast to light, and also he, as far as not only being a sponsor, he has helped us set it up as a whole. You know, we knew nothing whenever we started it out. So for G to come in and help us, he gave us our first mic, our first
one of these.
first webcam. Yeah, it was one of these, and he helped set it all up. So we thank you, Garrett, for being a big help in that.
Appreciate it, bro.
And obviously, like you said, we got some new paint. We had some really dope lights that was in here, and then we decided to break it right before we went on the air. So that is no longer there. But we do got the cool sign. And, you know, Ethan, show him what you got working with over there. We got Ethan his own little setup. He's a little crowded. We're trying to get a new desk for him and stuff, but I think it's looking pretty good.
Ethan, you closed out something this week, didn't you?
Sure did.
Two
morning.
In 1 week?
One
Or
last
week.
Friday,
two
too.
in 2 weeks, whatever it is. Hell yeah, that's
Good
awesome. He came in the office, like, it's a good day. And he's like, yeah, it's always a good day when you close. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's like back-to-back, ain't it? So that's
Can't
pretty
complain.
impressive.
On a
No,
roll.
that's awesome. And I actually, you know, toot my own horn. I got 7 under contract at the moment. So I got one closing out next week. So I'm hoping within the next week to get 3 more under contract. I'd like to have double digits. I've only done that one time under contract to have 10. So
You're on fire.
that'd be nice. The market's heating up, and actually a cool statistic that I think we might have touched base on last episode. Something I seen was that the best time to sell your home is April 13th through the 17th. And throughout the whole year, that's usually year after year, the best prime time to sell it. And I actually got 3 under contract that week alone, or during that 4-week span, or that 4-day span. Sorry. I can't talk right now. We're still a little tied up from them issues from earlier. We was a little late. I apologize.
Yeah, I feel like I could see it too. I've gotten 3 or 4 new leads.
The leads been picking up in the office.
All of them are getting approved, so it's looking good.
No, but I guess back to subject. Do you think the market will ever crash again?
I don't think so, and reason being, as long as the supply doesn't exceed the demand, I don't see the demand ever really going down, and I don't really see the supply going down because a lot of these houses are have good value, so I see people continuing to sell, or even if they're just relocating, but the demand is definitely there.
Yeah, the demand's definitely there, and then obviously the supply's not as elastic as the demand. I feel like the demand's always going to continue to grow and shrink, but I think it's on a quicker space than what these homes are actually selling for. And that kind of brings us into the next subject: interest versus inflation. Obviously the interest and inflation that you have on a home, like we had talked about in previous episodes, that inflation's always going to beat that interest rate. And actually a kind of a fact that we were kind of wrong at the beginning of the year was that we was thinking that rates were on a decline. We actually just seen a rate increase here recently. I'm not sure if you noticed. And people are kind of scared and like, what is that about? But again, interest versus inflation, we're going up. I do see it coming back down like it does every time around election year. But yeah, I think that people are going to kind of, they're not as scared as they were when the rates increased last time, obviously, because it's still round about what it's been. But we're going to see a slow decline, I think, this year.
And still, to me, we're at a, even with it being, 7.5, we're still at like a lower end interest rate.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, like, back in the 80s, it was as high as 18%. You know, before 2019, we saw like 2.5 or 2.7, something like that.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen again, really.
No.
So with it being at 7, I know it's kind of intimidating to some buyers, but I really don't see it going.
Average, it seems still.
Yeah, it's still lower than average. I mean,
between
across the board.
1973 to 2023, a 50-year span, and we're still below what the average has been over the years. As you can see, I guess it doesn't tell you exactly what the top rate was, but I'd say around 20% based off that statistic map.
16.63.
Okay, so yeah, 16.5%, 17%.
And that's average.
Was the average. I'm sure some people seen 20%. I remember Marty talking about his first piece of property was bought at 16% interest, and he still made money on it. And people are worried about this, 7, 8, 9% interest. I think that we honestly will see 10, 11, 12s again, probably in the near future. I'd say within the next year or two, we might see a 10% interest rate, and that's going to scare people again. But do I think that the prices are going to go down? No, I think the interest rates will go down again after that 10 to 12 before we ever see prices going down. And I don't think that that's going to make it a market crash either, because I think that supply doesn't meet the demand that we're having. And then there's another statistic that I've seen about the boomers, actually. We're getting an influx of houses that are selling because, unfortunately enough, that boomer generation is getting, 80s and 90s, and they're starting to sell their homes. So there's more homes coming to the market. But at the same time, there's such a demand right now that we can't keep the supply up. So it's needed, and that's just kind of how history keeps on repeating itself. We have such demand. They thought the boomers were, booming with their babies popping out, but I guess we're popping them out just as much, if not more.
So I know you guys can't see this chart, but this is average sales price of houses.
Produce it.
But how do I send a link like that? Email?
Do you got your iMessage on your thing? You can copy the link and send it through iMessage.
Ethan, what's your number?
Oh, please. You ain't got him saved?
Not on here.
It should be.
Send it to his computer.
Or just send it to Jalen.
Come on now.
Mine might not be set up on there, actually. Ethan's name will be on there.
But anyway, I was looking at the chart for interest rate prior to, and you kind of see it's been dropping ever since the 80s. But as far as like average sales price and inflation, housing prices, even through 2008,
literally like a stair step, it looks like.
Yeah, it just continues to go up.
Boom,
so
boom,
buying and holding, I think, is the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really see the sales price crashing too much, because it's really never have, even since the 60s.
Yeah, and
it's constantly went up.
I think one thing that's kind of neat to find, I know we talked about on a couple episodes ago about builders starting to shrink their size of their homes and stuff. We thought it was because buyers want a smaller home, but obviously it's, I think, just what buyers can afford nowadays, because prices and interest rates are so high. And they actually have called it, like, a little cool term is shrinkflation, is that the builders are doing. So they're shrinking their square footage.
It is what buyers can afford. It's also just price of material as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to continue to kind of navigate that through what the prices are selling at.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, since it's so high, I think that's why these houses are getting a little bit smaller as far as new builds go.
Yeah.
Because the price just continues to go up.
Yeah.
And some point that we brought up a few weeks ago was, let's say you're in the market to maybe buy a $200,000 house, let's say, but you plan on building in the next 3 years at like $500,000. It's probably a better option for you to go ahead and buy at the $200,000 range, and then use that equity and your savings to then build later on, rather than just wait that 5 years, because it's kind of like a built-in bank account with interest rate, where you're going to accrue money. Versus renting, because all that rent money is just going to go out the window, whereas your mortgage payment's going to go towards equity, and at the same time prices continue to go up.
Yep.
So
and so does the rent rate. Obviously, you're not getting no money back on your investment on those rents. But I think that people think are like, oh, these house prices are going up, but I don't think they realize that rental prices go up whenever house prices go up as well. And then you see all these people, especially on our social media, on our rentals, that are priced, anything over $1,500 a month, they're just tearing us alive. They're like, there's no way that these people can get this much. And I'm like, go get a mortgage. And for anything under, $300,000 or 250,000, you're going to be paying close to 2,000 a month, you know, 250 and up, you know, and that's for a standard home. The average home you're probably going to get in our area right now. Even for a double wide, they're going for upwards to 250 at the moment. It's really ridiculous, but it is what it is, and we have to adapt and change with the times.
Right. And then, you know, this generation of boomers, you know, they're starting to, you know, retire or sell or move to new locations, and with that, you're going to see an influx of houses as far as you know, houses that have been held for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, and to your point, I think those boomers did, like, our day, like, people get tired or sorry for my language, but they get, you know, kind of exhausted of the same house. They want something new all the time. And, you know, those boomers, you know, and no offense to my grandparents, they're older, but they have been in the same house they personally built. You know, I could not imagine living in the same house for 20, 30 years. Like, I need something new. And, like, me and my wife, Kristen, we're thinking about building here within the next year or two, and you know, we were thinking about it a couple years ago, and I'm thankful that we didn't start then, just because, like, there's so much more that I've learned from selling real estate, and she's learned from, you know, helping with our Airbnbs, our flips and stuff like that, staging them, that she's like, hey, I want this with the house, I want this with the house. So, like, we're constantly developing new ideas and stuff like that, which you can always add on, but we've also changed locations on where we wanted to build, you know, so you're constantly evolving, and where we want to build is on a family farm, so we don't want to, you know, rush into that, and we don't want to, you know, obviously have to switch homes down the future, although our kids or our cousins and stuff like that might benefit from us building on a piece of land that we might want to move from. You know, we're kind of trying to create a homestead, and I was talking with my mom the other night, and sorry if I'm getting long-winded, but she's like, hey, we're moving if you move, because we live right across the street right now, which is convenient for us too, so that's been another reason why we haven't built, you know, immediately, is just because it's convenient with the 2 babies and stuff like that. We can just be like, hey, Mom, we're coming over for a break.
I see, like, the homestead thing coming, you know, more relevant. I've seen it a lot just in general, but, you know,
it's very common back in the day.
Even my family, you know, they've started kind of gathering down there in Cedar Flat and Battletown. And, you know, that might be an option for me and Melina down the road to build. And I
see why then people, you know, as much as I'm in real estate and I want to see land and development, you know, I see why these people do get upset about these farms and stuff going up for sale, getting split off, you know, because these families want the most bang for their buck. And these families also, you know, bought that land, invested in that land to not only provide for their families, but provide for their families physically, as well as crops, as well as money too. Later down the road, sometimes you're forced to sell, and that money is providing for that family future down the road, whether it's as a farm or as cash in hand. You know, it's providing. So,
do you think we'll ever see prices like pre-pandemic?
Not prices, obviously, but affordability, possibly. The market crashed in 2008, and it was kind of a sketchy time, but it was a great time for investors if you were in the end and were smart about it. Obviously, like we've talked about, Joe, when he came on the podcast, is he has about that 10%, that 10% rule, and if that's not met, you know, obviously it doesn't make sense. And nowadays we're having to start to tread on the 9 to 8% margin, and I think the people that stick at that 10%, maybe buy a few less properties, might be beneficial to them. I don't truly know. I know that I've gotten myself into a pinch buying so many properties at one. I think at one point last year I had about 12 to 13 properties, and I felt like I was on top of the world, but also in my bank account was sitting there crying. You know, my wallet was like, hey, I need help, bring me up for air. So I think that it's definitely, if you're smart about your investments, I think that it's going to be a good thing if the economy does stoop down a little bit, but at the same time we always want the economy to thrive, and I think at these interest rates and prices, that's going to help.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think right now, as any time almost, it's a smart time for investors to buy. You know, obviously make a smart decision. You know, the numbers have to make sense. Like the 10% rule you were talking about, you know, every investor has their own percentage that they want to clear. You know, giving yourself that big of a cushion is important if you want to really secure your investments long term, or, you know, just be safe. But, you know, high risk sometimes comes with high reward.
Oh, yeah.
So you kind of have to balance it. But I would say if you're a newer investor, definitely make sure that percentage is higher, that you expect to see a higher return.
Yeah, and I think a lot of investors are kind of discouraged about how the prices we're paying for homes nowadays. I know a lot of people are like, man, I wouldn't pay over $100,000 for a mobile home, but that's what they're going for nowadays. But also they used to sell for $130,000, $140,000, $50,000, and now they're selling for $250,000, you know. So your purchase price is higher, but also your sales price is higher. And like Joe said, whenever he came on the podcast, your money is not made on your sale. It's made on your purchase. So you want to negotiate that correct purchase price to make your profit. You know, you don't want to cut corners. You don't want to have to, you know, maybe not fix this thing or fix that thing. You want to be honest and feel good whenever you're selling that home to a new potential buyer. And, you know, I think that's where real investors succeed, is whenever they can get that number corrected on the purchase price. And you might have to lose out on a few homes. I've had a few investors that are pissed that they didn't get a home over, you know, a couple $100, but also that couple $100 is what turned them away from the deal because they needed an X amount of dollars. And if they didn't get that, then they weren't worried about it.
Well, in terms of like investors, you know, especially in our area, there's 30 plus investors.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a good deal on the market, you know, chances are there's about 10 or 15 other investors looking at that same property. They're probably all going to put an offer in on it, depending on what it's at.
Yep.
Still with that, that's why I see a lot of these investors that do really well. They focus on more volume as far as putting in offers, because they do have certain margins. So let's put in 50 offers versus trying to secure the few. Like besides, you know, putting a higher offer up on just 5 properties, they're putting lower offers up on 20.
Right.
And you know, that's safer for them because, you know, ultimately every now and then you'll catch that one where you get a good deal. And that's just
a lot less headache too.
A lot less headache for sure. And you know, always it's same with what I tell my clients as far as putting in an offer in general is just, you know, don't be afraid to get a no. Like that's the worst that can happen.
Yep.
So they're going to say no, they're not going to respond. But, you know, if you really feel like you want to purchase at a certain price, just go ahead and put that in. Worst they can say is no.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. You want to go ahead to intermission and thank our title and weekly sponsors?
Go ahead and head to intermission, Ethan. I want to thank our title sponsors for today's episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. I want to give a big shout out to Chad Gooden at Supreme Lending. If you have any lending questions or if you're trying to get approved FHA, VA, conventional, and more, he's located off of North Mulberry Street in E-Town. And then for this week's sponsor, I want to thank T&J Construction. They've been in business since 2009 out of Meade County. They do roofing, guttering, and construction, and you can reach them at 270-668-2866.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Property Panel Podcast. Thank you for sticking with us through that brief intermission. And Josh, you want to dive us into the next part of the pod? Obviously, we answered the age-old question: will the market ever crash again? Hell no.
I guess the next question for us is it too easy to get your real estate license? You think?
I think it is, and I know we've talked about it before, and talked about how professional we are because we went through the course. But I do think that statistically speaking, after seeing this stat that the most real estate agents are out after the first 2 years, they fall off. I realized, like, hey, these agents aren't really getting enough preparation, and maybe it's not that they're not going through enough schooling, or maybe it's not too easy, but they're not teaching them the proper things that they need to succeed in real estate. They're teaching them how to save their ass, and I think that we need to also, maybe instead of 96 hours, maybe it's 150 hours, and the rest of those hours, because I think that it is jam-packed full of knowledge and stuff that you need to know, but I think we need to add to that and make it a little more difficult. So maybe we weed out those part-timers.
I think they need to make, something along the lines of hours in the field. So maybe you'll have
like home inspectors and stuff.
So you'll have 96-hour course. I think that test is important, but it doesn't really prep you for the real estate world. I think the more important part is the experience that you get. So if they added hours as far as shadowing or just kind of being in the market, maybe like you can handle some deals until you get this or whatever with a broker, like kind of like by your side
as an assistant.
Right. But you really don't learn all you need to know about real estate until you're actually in it. And that's why I think most of these agents fail within the first 2 years. It kind of shows because they don't understand the expectations on what it takes to be a successful real estate agent, especially in our area. I feel like a lot of newer agents, they expect it to kind of come easy, kind of come quick. And then when it doesn't, they kind of fall out.
Another thing that I think too is like these web application lenders and these approvals that people are getting where these deals fall through because the lenders are just on a web app and they're not getting the proper information that they need. Go shout out Chad Gooden, go see him. But I think just like realtors, they're going to these independent brokerages where they're holding their license and they get to just work from home. They're not getting no interaction, they're not getting no experience, and they're not you need different perspectives, and what I might see something, you might see something differently. And I think that that's why Cedar Hill is such a great real estate place to come and shop at, is because we have such a diversity in our culture and in our realtors, and we can see different experiences. And we have, as far as experience, as far as 20, or actually with Marty included, we have about 40 years of experience all the way down to someone that just started about 6 months ago. So we have literally brand new agents to as experienced as you can get in the real estate market. So we have different perspectives throughout history of the real estate game. And I think that that's very beneficial. And even just as far as like technology these days makes it so easy for you to not have to communicate with other agents. So say you're an agent that sells 20 to 30 houses a year. Are you really talking to these 20 to 30 other cooperating agents, and seeing their perspective, getting the education that you need? Because it's a lot of, rinse and repeat, and then obviously you learn off your mistakes, because there are going to be issues and mistakes that arise that you have to navigate through, and I think that's when we learn the most.
But if you don't have a good team around you, or no team, because like you said, some of these brokerages, you kind of you're on your own. You don't really have a broker that you see day to day, or even coworkers that you see day to day. That can kind of hurt you, because I think more important than the real estate course is having mentors and having people that are experienced in the field, so you can ask them direct questions, so you can see how they operate. I think that really shows you how to be successful in real estate.
And then even as far as like you said, learning, but also teaching. So like, especially for me, I feel like I'm such a great agent is because, we started this with me, Tyler, and my mom, and then we've had other agents come on, brand new agents from the beginning. And, teaching you guys and helping you guys through different questions and concerns that you might have, or even just asking me about my deals that I have that might be going wrong or going exceptionally well. Just teaching has really helped me become a better agent. And then even obviously like this podcast, the three of us, I think, have excelled even more since we've started this part of our business, because we're learning week in and week out about different questions and concerns that our live clients have, when we're addressing these problems live on the air, and once we get more viewers and subscribers, we'll be having more questions and stuff, comments come on while we're live on the air, and that'll be super beneficial for you guys as well as us, because it's going to kind of be like Johnny on the spot. Can you answer these questions? How impressive is it that you can get me the answers? What resources do you have? And I think that's kind of like what we like to bring to the podcast, to show you we have the statistics, we have the team, like you said, and we're a full-service real estate office, as far as property management, investing, selling, buying. We got what you need, and I don't think there's a company that does it as well as us.
Which, sometimes, not in all cases, but it's not about what your skills are, but it's who you know. Mm-hmm. And, having a good networking in general, that's important. So having the best lenders, having the best, real estate agents to go to with questions, having the best inspectors, just kind of knowing the right people, that really sets you up for success. And I think one of the ways you could help yourself as a new real estate agent is finding mentors and finding people who know more than you do. And, you have to admit that and really just kind of ask them questions, kind of be friends with them and figure out, the ins and outs of the game. Mm-hmm. I think that's really how you excel and how you help yourself.
I agree. I mean, even as much as I've been in this business and as much as I like to think I'm a good agent, I learn something new every day, and I still have to go and ask my broker for questions or other agents for questions. We always got to interact with each other, and interaction's key, communication's key, and that's how you are the best agent you can be.
So a lot of real estate agencies, they put out, top producer. They put out, that whether it's monthly or yearly. How important do you see that?
Who you competing against?
Right.
Like there's a lot of part-time agents out there and a lot of brokerages. They're gonna, especially with those, indirect brokerages that are remote. You're working from home. Are you a top producer? Really? What are you producing, and what is your company producing? I know, like we've talked about a few times, we did the top producer thing for a little bit, and not everyone is a full service agent. Obviously we like those part-time agents, but it gets repetitive, and you see those other brokerages where it's like the same person every time. What are you really competing against? What we want to see is the units you're putting out. We want to see that total number of volume. We want to see the real estate sales that you're selling. We don't care if you're beating someone else, because we all are competing, but we're all trying to work towards the same goal. We want these houses to close as quickly as possible. We want our clients to be as happy as possible. So ultimately, let's see, how much volume we're putting out, how many units we're turning out. Who cares who's the top producer?
I think, a more important statistic to look at is your volume, is your days on market.
Yep.
Maybe even, your closing percentage based off of
that's an important
how many clients you get versus how many you bring to the table. Those are more important to ask an agent that you're trying to work with to really figure out, whether or not they're the agent for you, is really what they can do for you. Because just because they're top producer, not in all cases, doesn't always mean that they're the top agent in the area, or just.
But I feel like right, even in most industries, especially sales industries, like you see everyone and their brother getting a top producer prize or award or something, and I think that we really need to be, appreciating the volume that they're bringing to the table, the units that they're bringing to the table. And I know that even I've said, I think units are even more important than volume, because there's been times where I see agents, like a couple years ago when I sold 8-10 million, I sold 54 units that year. There is one agent that sold 8 houses and he sold 8 million, which he was in a higher end neighborhood than I was in Kentucky. But at the same time, he sold 8 houses. I did 6 times the work, or 7 times the work you did, and I just got the same volume as you. I made the same amount of money as you. It's kind of disheartening, but at the same time, I love my job, and it's not all about the money. But when people talk about that top producer status, I'm like, what? Like you said, what are you producing? I mean, I think the units and the total number of your volume is very important. And the days on market, I think that's a good one. And percentage close, I didn't even think about those, but you get a lot of these agents, and especially today's market, where a lot of deals are falling through more often than not because of those, designated web lenders and stuff like that.
And sometimes, like a deal can fall through maybe because of lack of insight by your agent. Mm-hmm. It's not the client's fault all the time. Sometimes it's just something that the agent didn't foresee or didn't plan on, that ends up letting the deal fall through. And, some of these agents are wondering why they're not getting these closings, but really it falls back on that agent. Mm-hmm. Did you check the lender? Did you make sure the lender was on their stuff?
Yep.
Did you check the appraiser and make sure that they, did the right things?
Yeah.
And
We'll turn deals down for
let's
that.
say the appraisal came in low. Did you dispute it if you needed to? Like, just kind of going the extra mile,
A lot of people, don't do their due diligence, and I guess they just don't know or they're not aware. And maybe back to the schooling, maybe they need to teach them more in those certain situations. Like, what do you have if a deal's falling apart?
I think real estate school is more textbook definition terms, what not to do. But really, you need to know situational experience. Hey, if your appraiser comes in low, what do you do? Hey, if the lender's taking forever, what do you do? You need to know those
just like
things.
In regular curriculum, like K through 12, we have to do 5-6 different core studies as far as English, math, and all that. Which I know that's the only two I'm thinking of right now. Ethan's over there laughing. I didn't do well in school, okay, but just like I said, take my test, my real estate test 8 times before I passed. But it goes to show it don't matter about the school; it matters how you work and your work ethic. That's really what's going to make you succeed.
I guess let's kind of go over, as a realtor, where should you be putting your money or time and efforts into as far as these different, websites or social medias?
Yeah, so kind of what you wanted to bleep out was the overrated part. What's overrated and underrated? Yeah.
We got one of them up top.
Yeah. I think Zillow's kind of overrated. I know we got the thing sitting right here, but a lot of buyers are going to see that and be like, damn, we want to use them because they're Zillow certified or whatnot. They were a top producer on Zillow. Exactly. Another trophy that we can, advertise to you guys that really don't mean nothing, but we're going to have it there because it looks good and people don't know no better. So, but obviously I think Zillow, Realtor.com and stuff like that's kind of overrated. A lot of people are probably getting calls on the daily on, do you want to sign up for our lead generation and this, that, and the other? And I'd say since we stopped doing the lead generation, which is $600, $1,200 a month, which we split it with the lender because they're supposed to be getting leads too, is not producing the leads for $1,200 a month. Whereas, we're not paying for it. We're still getting a couple leads a month that are producing the same amount that produced before we paid for it. So I think that your overrated aspects in real estate are paying for leads. Don't pay for leads. Just get in the office, show up, dress up, show up, and go up. I know I learned that from one of my previous brokerages, but it stuck with me. It's been tried and true.
So some of the underrated things I think a lot of agents don't look at are just social media in general, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm going to add on to that, but the website. Your real estate website, how it's created, how it's navigated, I think is really important. Luckily I've had web design experience and helped create, Cedar Hills website. With that, we get a lot of leads. The turnover rate on that's debatable, but the volume that we get through that and the amount of people that we contact through that, I think, succeeds, Zillow. It is cheaper than Zillow.
That is a great point, and I think our website does really well. But I think a lot of questions I get asked in the office especially is, hey, Jay, do you text those leads that say do not text? And I always tell you, yeah. I'm like, yeah, reality, I'm 50-50. I might text them, I might not. I don't want to be disrespectful to someone that answers that question, but at the same time, if I know them, I'm texting them. And we got a new office manager in the office, and we was talking because we're old friends. We used to work together, and we used to camp together. We grew up, together. And she was talking. She's like, yeah, you messaged so-and-so about looking at a house. She was like, yeah, I put do not text me on there. And I was like, yeah, I seen her name, and I usually don't text them if they say not to, but I'll call them. But on that one, I was like, yeah, I'm a texter because I know where. She didn't respond to me, but I thought it was funny that 6 months later I heard about her reaction to that. It kind of made my day.
Yeah, I think so. Those are some underrated things. You're gonna spend would you say $1,200 a month on Zillow?
Mm-hmm.
For about 2 or 3 months of Zillow, you can create one of the top of the line websites.
Which just sounds nice. If you get one lead closed out a month, obviously that's probably going to pay for that lead generation site. But we've tried it for 3-4 years, and then in previous brokerages we also had it, which we weren't paying for, so we didn't realize how beneficial it was to us. We was like, hell yeah, another lead generation site. But once we actually started paying for it ourselves and then seeing the return on investment, it really wasn't there. You about broke even, and it got you a few more sales, but I think I can grind my time and my money somewhere else and benefit more.
Yep, I agree. Keep an eye on social media. There's a lot of value there.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's from content creation or if it's just from, you just being active in networking on the social media, definitely more bang for your buck. I do websites on the side sometimes, and it's funny because I'll have, some people approach me like, hey, how much for a website? I'll give them a price, but if it's a smaller company or certain companies, I'll tell them straight up, like, I could make the money if I wanted to, but I tell them straight up, go ahead and make you a Facebook for free. Right. Join groups. Yep. I said, you can pay me this amount, and I'm probably cheaper than most, but and I'll make you a solid website. But just sign up on Facebook. Make you a Facebook profile with your business and advertise that way. It's free, it's easy, and you can reach a lot of people, through these Facebook groups, and that goes the same for other social medias. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of value there if you're willing to create content. I
agree. And then to the next topic, which we kind of touched base on earlier today.
I do want to pause you all real quick. I do have those charts pulled up if you want to touch base on that again.
Yeah, let's go to those charts real quick. We're going to screencast. This is what we were bringing up earlier. We were going over mortgage rates. We'll pull that one up first. So here's a good timeline of mortgage rates since 1973 till 2003. And, Ethan can scroll over each bullet point, but at the peak, we were in 1981, we were at 16.63%. And as you can see, it's kind of just slowly stair-step down. And just recently, it kind of went back up, which is where everybody's scared. But, ultimately, that's kind of the average of what an interest rate should be to sustain a market. So, interest rates shouldn't scare you as much. And reason being, as we'll move on to this next chart, you'll see that more important than interest rates is the average sales price, which kind of reflects inflation in general. As the price of everything has went up, since the 60s. It's just been a constant stair step. And I don't think that trend will change unless we have a dramatic change in just our world. So, you're marrying the house and not the rate. Inflation will continue to go up. So always choose a house that you like or you're willing to purchase over just the interest rate at the time, because you can always go back and refinance, and that's always an option.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Josh. I think wholeheartedly that as you're looking at this graph, you see, like we talked about many times, that it's a stair step. Obviously, if you looked at inflation, it would be kind of like the opposite. It would be up and down. It's more like a hill and a valley, if you want to think of the Grand Canyon in a sense. It's going up and down. But I think, like you said, that inflation beats interest at every aspect.
Even look at 2008. When the market crashed, it really didn't even go down too much, and it was very brief.
Do you have that inflation map, Ethan, or did he not send that to you?
We got both.
Can you switch over to that for us?
I did not get the inflation. I got the interest, and I got the
average sales price, which kind of reflects. Yeah,
I got that up.
Average sales price. So in average sales price, you can see, if you scroll over 2008, you'll see that market crash. And I don't know the percentage, but it did
It's really not that.
It did go down, but it kind of held steady at that low point
till what, about 2012?
Till about 2011. Q4, so yeah, 2012.
2012,
and then it's just been a stair step ever since.
What is this? 2020 right here. It went up. I mean, goodness gracious, that's crazy. Bring it back on us, Ethan, if you don't mind. We thank y'all for taking a look at that graph. Obviously, you've seen that the inflation is crazy, and I think that the market's hot. Like we said, 13th to the 17th is the hottest time to sell, which I know it just passed, but the market's still hot. And listings are going super quick, and I think that as far as, like you said, the pre-pandemic, I think houses, or during the pandemic, we're going to, my average days for a long time was about 3 days on market. But I think nowadays that which my average, I'd have to recalculate. I still sell a lot because I sell investment properties, which go same day. But I do get, thank you. Who's that?
Thank you, Deborah Gibson.
Oh, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. But back to my point, I think that, with these higher priced homes and the interest rates, it really takes that certain buyer to lock down the home that they want. And now I think we're seeing that turnover about 3 weeks. 3 weeks is when we're really picking up on showings, and I think we're really getting things under contract. So don't be discouraged if you're not getting something in that first week or that second week. I'd hold off to about the third week before you drop the price.
Yeah, and another thing is we're not really seeing a lot of homes under 200,000. Especially if you're going for 3-bed, 2-bath or more. Very few listings come under 200,000. And I think the biggest thing to that point, and a lot of things that I see that holds buyers back from hitting that $200,000 mark, which it's credit. It's whether it's credit hits that you've had, stuff you haven't paid off. So for buyers that are listening in, focus on your credit. Call one of our lenders, call Chad. He'll kind of walk you through what you need to do to boost that credit score.
A lot of them have a credit recovery program. They can get you on like a little 6-month stint, and they'll get you on like, paying this bill off this date, and working towards getting you to approval within 6 months.
So, if you're looking to buy,
it is variable,
but your credit is low, go ahead and start the process of building your credit. Give one of us a call, or Ethan, and we'll direct you in the right path to kind of boost your credit. It might take 6 months. It might take a year. But that's your best route to getting into purchasing a home, especially for a size that you need. If you need a 3-bed, 2-bath or something bigger, start building that credit up. And you could probably get approved KHC 200,000 if you don't have money down.
Yeah, and obviously we do buy houses. We buy them cash and we close fast. We can close as fast as you want or as long as you want. We've had homes that have taken 2 years to close that we've worked with, but we've also closed them as quickly as 7 days. So if you want cash in your pocket today, give us a call, and we can maybe work you out a cash price. But we'll go as far as, also, since we're realtors, we have access to the multiple listing service. We're going to look up those sold priced homes, and we're going to look up comparable values, and we're going to tell you what we could list that house for. Obviously, there's going to be a commission on top of that, but we're also going to tell you the cash price that we give you. Obviously, they're not going to be the same amount. We got to make money just like you guys want to, but that's what we do offer, and I think that's where we get a lot of listings, is because we do offer that. Hey, we will give you cash price, which kind of draws them in. Some people take it, a lot of people won't, but hey, this is what we're willing to give, but also we can get this price, which I think also makes that, list price sound a little better as well.
And, really, I think that's a good option for anyone just trying to sell in general. But especially if you're going through foreclosure, if you're having trouble making payments, if you have a little bit of equity built up, especially, or if you don't, but you're headed towards foreclosure, you can save that credit score potentially by giving us a call. We'll give you the cash price, and like you said, we'll close in a week or two, and that might be your best option. So keep that in mind. Give us a call if you're looking to sell your house, and we'll give you a value free of charge, what totally we're going to offer, and we can move quick.
And before we close out, Ethan, I know that we tried to show your little podcast station up earlier, and the thing was blank. So could you kind of show the world what we're working with over there?
Yeah,
and
we really just have a clock there behind me.
No, yeah. So
that's about it.
He's like, what's happening? Okay, we got Ethan over here. He's got the clock behind him. He's got his whole desk. He's actually got the mics wired in here for us. He's got the lights. He's got the remote controller. He's got it all. Ethan is the man with the
I got it all. I'm the man.
Yeah. No, we thank you, Ethan. Hey, don't turn it off on me just quite yet. I got a few questions to ask you.
Okay.
Question corner.
Uh-oh, you a little nervous over there?
Shoot away.
So, like we talked about, you just had a couple closings that just happened. How does that make you feel? Obviously, as you started real estate, almost 2 years ago now?
Yep, we're getting on that 2-year mark.
How does it feel to start building?
It's nice. Last year, I thought I was getting to that point to where it was going to be a constant growth, and kind of
just like the home prices. I feel like even in real estate, us as business entrepreneurs, I feel like we're on a stair step too. We'll have times where we'll even out, but then we'll hit that next big gross, and we'll plateau a little bit more, and then we'll keep on rising. And I think you've been doing that, and you've been doing well.
Yeah. And as Marty said, comes in waves. I've been taking that to heart a lot, and I really just have to consider that. Like, once I get something, I know more's coming.
How's your house coming along?
It's good. We I think we just got done grouting all the bathroom, laundry room, and kitchen floors. We got to seal those and then take care of the hardwood, but we're getting real close.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, before we tune off, Josh, would you want to go ahead and give us thanks to our sponsors?
Yeah, I want to thank our title sponsors for today's episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then I want to give a big shout out to Chad Gooden at Supreme Lending. If If you have any lending or credit questions, give him a call. Or if you need to get approved FHA, VA, conventional, and more, he's located off of North Street in E-Town. And then for this week's sponsor, I want to thank T&J Construction. They've been in business since 2009 out of Meade County. They do roofing, gutters, and construction, and you can give them a call at 270-668-2806.
Thank you, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.